So, check this out, right? So, it's true that, well, I thought it was true, but so you don't get tax for donations to political parties. There's no tax paid or taken, right? So you don't have to pay tax on it. So, I also actually believe that really all people who are doing petitions to government and they are using materials and things like that, or even travelling, I don't think that you should have to pay tax on that either. And I think that if you could be bothered getting the receipts, you can claim the tax back. Like charities have a different taxation percentage and different rules for charities. But the thing is this, right? So my campaign hasn't really been, I don't really do like a GoFundMe or anything like that. I've never had a GoFundMe or a Patreon or anything like that for it. Never really asked for money from anyone, right? Now, for proper businesses, like, for example, this Max Blumenthal, who's like quite prolific on, The Hill and in circles with, Jimmy Dore and other programs, they actually do journalism. But because they're like journalism that is on the side of, sort of the Robert F. Kennedy camp, the Jimmy Dore camp, George Galloway kind of like political spectrum, apparently they got like £100,000 worth in donations frozen through GoFundMe. They got a lot of donations frozen and GoFundMe wouldn't give them to them, right? So it seems like there's been a lot of lockdown or locking down on large payments going over to this side of political spectrum. And they were talking on the Hill programme about, it being this industrial military complex side that have been wanting to try and intervene in their opposition getting fair funding, really, I mean, Russell Brand's had his money frozen on YouTube, his monetization. My political channel had monetization frozen quite a few years ago. Really, there's a legal right to be able to monetize for political parties because they've got to raise money, or political campaigns have a legal right to raise money. To stop them from raising money really is perverting the course of justice, really. I mean, I've done a video recently going into perverting the course of justice, looking at perverting the course of justice, intervening in legal proceedings. A petition is officially a legal proceeding. Is an actual... it is a legal proceeding because you're trying to get actions, but the thing is, with politics, actions through government... Now, this is a complicated thing here, right? Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's running for president, and like Marianne Williamson, they're claiming that you can't donate to their parties unless you are a United States citizen, right? Now, the thing is that in the Stop Cop City campaign, in the Stop Cop City political campaign, there was an order made by a court, this is in Atlanta, Georgia, to say that when they're doing petitions, anybody can help to collect signatures. Absolutely anybody. That's what they said. Absolutely, that's what the prosecutor said, Alex Joseph, or I think she's resigned now, but she said that the judge made an order that anybody can help collect signatures because they won't be signing. If they're just collecting the signatures, walking around asking people to sign, they aren't actually themselves signing, and they're not voting themselves. They're only helping out. But the thing is, if you're helping out, you're giving something. you're giving of yourself, You're giving volunteering to it, right? Now, why shouldn't you be able to volunteer money? If you can give yourself, if you can volunteer yourself to lift something, you know, I mean, someone might not lift something like, you know, a valet might not lift something unless you give them 10p, you know, this is the thing. So why can't you give money to help the petition campaign? Now, I know there's a distinction between political campaigns, people running for election in a permanent position in that country, and just petitioning a case. Now, let's be clear. The Obama establishment, the Obama government allowed anyone in the world to petition Congress. Now, if he did that unlawfully, I'd like to see him face some charges like, you know, Trump's being faced charges. I petitioned the White House from overseas and ran petitions. Now, obviously, all the signatures that were getting collected, I'm pretty sure, you know, mainly the White House run it for people signing in America, but you could sign all over the world. It was almost like Change.org. I know they shut it down now. I don't know if there's any legal cases over it, but if there were, then surely Obama's responsible. But on the basis of that court case in Georgia, it does fit and is compatible with We the People. If anyone can, you know, make a suggestion or something and get the US people to sign, it's the US people who are signing, who are voting. The person who created it is creating the case. Although the thing with petitions is it can be decided on the merit of the evidence and not with any signatures. Now, the thing that by the way, this website we've got up now is the Labour Party website, you know, all to do with political party monies and donations, which is covered in that act. There is some very, very interesting things with that act, though, when it comes to like Jacob Rees-Mogg presenting on GB News and things like that, which, you know, Jacob Rees-Mogg's breaking the law at the moment. You know, he's been in front of this select committee and Ofcom and so forth, but, you know, nothing's been done yet. I think that broadcasting is in the that act and other similar acts as what this date is in for these donations and monies. I think there's certain money, you can only spend a certain amount of money when you're running a local referendum on materials, but that's the local authority can only use a certain amount of money. But then again, in the Bill of Rights, it says elections, you know, should be free, which, you know, means that, you know, they shouldn't have to cost anything. Now, if you're giving donations, it's costing you something, isn't it? You know, if they're asking for donations for funding elections, then it's free. It's not free. Well, it's free for them. It's free for them because you're giving them the money, right? And then they're running their campaign for free because we paid for it. But it's meant to be free for everyone. So that makes you wonder whether the government really, on that basis, should be paying for it all and not charging tax, you know, and everyone should be equal. The whole idea of, you know, like everyone who's a candidate can, you know, the BBC's say taxpayer funded or license fee funded, you know, like, you know, if, you know, the Labour Party get 5 minutes to speak and then Conservatives get 5 minutes to speak and then the next party gets 5 minutes to speak and then they all, you know, what happens if the advertising companies all donated, you know, an advert, you know, and they could all have 100 adverts and choose where they put them around the country. Oh, that would be a very, very fair electoral system that literally costs next to nothing, right? But all this Trump, Biden, different amounts of money involved, right? So the thing is, for the petition campaign, right, it's a case to the government, a political case to the government. Now, the thing is, on Wiltshire Council website, it says that anyone actually in England, any English-British subject, really, Canadians and Australians are meant to be members of the Commonwealth. The right to petition is meant to be something that applies to the Commonwealth, right? It's meant to be Canada, Australia, New Zealand as well, right? It's meant to be. Now, the thing is, the petitioning process is legal proceedings. It is a legal proceeding, but to the Palace of Westminster. And you can get like a public inquiry through it, which is like a special investigation, and then they can direct the courts to investigate. So a petition for a public inquiry, which you can have, is a government action which kind of feeds and loops back into the judicial system for justice as well, because they can refer matters to the High Court and civil courts, right? Now, the thing is, this is the thing. I'm going to send this into Robert F. Kennedy because it's important, right? So, if you're an American citizen and you're in England on a passport, right? If you break the law in England, you get prosecuted or go to court unless you claim diplomatic immunity or something. But I'm talking about just like a normal crime like Julian Assange, although that's questionable. But let's talk about, punching and fighting and things like that. If I go on holiday to America, right, and I get into a fight in the street, right, and I, end up assaulting someone, then they'll take me to court. They don't say, oh, you're a British citizen, you're immune. I'm not immune from the American courts. They're putting me through their legal system. And I'll have to pay for a lawyer to defend me, right? Or I might be put in prison in America. You don't say, oh, you're British, so, you're not even a British diplomat, you're not even a British member of parliament or a British, you're just a British citizen on holiday, right? So they don't say, oh, he's a British citizen on holiday, he got immunity. No, I have to be put through the court and get a lawyer. That's legal proceedings, right? Now, also, and this is important, if you look at McDonald's, right? McDonald's have got restaurants all over the world, right? They started in America, but they've got restaurants, in China, Japan, wherever, right? They also have head offices in different countries, and they're actually registered as a company in those countries as well, actually. But some of them don't have a head office in a specific country. Let's look at McDonald's, for example. Let's look at YouTube. YouTube do have a building in London, and it is a registered address. So I can take YouTube to court in England because I can serve them papers in that London office because it's an address of them in this country, right? And they say on their website they'll comply with foreign law, all foreign state and federal laws for whichever country the person who's uploading is in when they're uploading their material and so forth, right? So companies can take civil actions in different countries. In fact, if I can go onto a website, because YouTube's in San Bruno as well, I can go onto government CCB, Copyright Claims Board, ccb.gov, America, and I can open a legal case through the civil courts, right? I can open a case through the civil courts in America. So, but I'm not American and I don't have an American passport. Well, there are legal things that need sorting out in that country, right? Legal things that need sorting out, but not criminal. But then again, if I go to America and commit an offence, then, I mean, if America are doing it, so if you're a criminal in England, they might not let you into their country because you've got a criminal record. What about dangerous driving? I don't know if that qualifies for it or not, if I can't even go to America, although it's not like, I didn't steal anything or anything like that. They're stopping me from going into the country. If the offence was slightly different, like driving without due care and attention, it wouldn't have... actually, I had my conviction was on summary. It wasn't on an indictment. It wasn't an indictment, so I didn't go to Crown Court. It wasn't an that offence can be brought summary. It can be dealt with as a summary offence, or it can be dealt with as an indictment if it's more serious, right? I don't think that. I'm not too sure if minor offences keep you out of America, because like driving offences are minor offences, and many people have got speeding offences and they still go into America. The fact that my case was dealt with summarily as a summary offence, then I'm not too sure whether it qualifies as if it stays within like the other driving offences, because it wasn't an indictment. I'm not sure, But this is the thing, I got prosecuted illegally anyway. I wasn't even supposed to be prosecuted. It was an unlawful prosecution. So, but then again, I don't know if it's only like within the last 5 years or 10 years. Now, so, you know, going to other countries, so you can engage. This is the thing. What happens if you buy a house in America or you buy a house in Spain? If you buy a house in America or if you buy a house in Spain, you might have to go to court over ownership rights, ownership and property rights for the house. Or if someone did some work in the house on that country, like, you know, plumbing or something, and they didn't do the job properly. So because you're foreign, you've got access to the courts, right? Now, this is the thing with petitioning the government, right? I actually can petition the European Parliament, I'm sure. We should be able to petition the European Parliament over ancient sites and United Nations protections. You know, the thing is, the United Nations, we are in the United Nations still, but supposedly we live in Europe. So, but then we're meant to be wanting to go back in. What is the status with petitioning the European Parliament? You know, Ireland have got a representative. You know, you keep seeing people like Andrew Bridgen giving speeches in different European unions and so forth when, you know, whether we're in or out. So, when it comes to the petition, right, the thing is with any legal case, it can be judged or heard actually on the merit of the evidence submitted or by the way of the signatures of the people of the country that you collect. Now, the thing is on Change.org, loads of people petition UK Parliament, right, from all over the world on Change.org. On the Parliament website, they don't let people sign. They don't let people start a petition unless you're a British citizen. But what happens about foreign prisoners, you know, like Assange and other matters like that? Like this, you know, if there's an Iraqi person who's in British prison, you get all these petitions on Change.org where people from a country are petitioning the government on foreign relations. So those, you know, is that the country of origin petitioning or a world petition? There are some, I don't think that they've completely got it right. And the fact is that, you know, on the basis that a petition to the government, to Parliament, is a legal proceeding, and it don't necessarily have to be getting a law made or a law changed. You could just be getting like an inquiry because something happened in the public, and then they have a public inquiry, a special court looking into it, and that court can direct other courts like criminal courts, you know, the High Court and so forth, on recommendations and so forth, right? Now, look at Hillsborough, for example. What happens if there's a World Cup on, right? There's a World Cup and it's Spain playing England, right, in a British stadium. And let's say something like Hillsborough happened and let's say a load of Spanish people died, right? Are you telling me that the Spanish people couldn't petition for an inquiry? I mean, the English people might want to petition for an inquiry, right? It might be a serious matter anyway without the Spanish people's input. But, you know, the thing is, a Spanish person in England on holiday can be put through the courts. They're not immune, and they can pay for a lawyer to represent them in a legal proceeding, right? And, you know, you've got all this diplomacy. Politicians have foreign affairs, diplomats, you know. You don't say they don't speak to foreign people over foreign matters, you know. So, so when, you know, when it comes to petitions, now, if it wasn't the case, you know, if all the signatures on it are residents, so like look at Wiltshire, right? Wiltshire Council say that anyone in England, any subject of the realm, can petition Wiltshire Council, which I think that's true. And because people own businesses in the area, and people people own businesses in the area, and people use facilities like Stonehenge in the area and stuff like that. And when we're all British citizens anyway, and it's His Majesty's local council anyway. So, but we don't live in that area, and what a referendum is everyone in a specific area casts a vote. You can have a national referendum, but the petition isn't the referendum itself. So the petition for a referendum is only asking for a referendum. So, and in the Local Petitions and Referendums Act, I don't think it stops people from collecting signatures or signing to obtain the referendum. You're not going to vote in the referendum if you don't live in Wiltshire, because what it actually is asking people in Wiltshire. But a petition is just a case, making a case for something, making the case that there should be a referendum, making a case that there should be an inquiry, making a case for a change in law or whatever. And in England, we don't have different laws in different counties. It's the same law anyway. We only have decisions in councils, and the decision is made by the council unless you get the referendum and you're going above the council, but only by the full assembly of that area, local area. Now, when it comes to these political parties then, and donations, it seems strange that, in America, you can have, it says that anyone can collect signatures. So if I was in Atlanta, I drafted up a petition because, like, what happens if you're a foreign citizen and you're being arrested and you think, the law needs to be changed in Atlanta for that offence because you don't think it's right? So, and what happens if you went around Atlanta getting the people of Atlanta to sign it, which is legal now? That's been made legal by the courts in Georgia. I could walk around Atlanta and get everyone in Atlanta to sign it to get the law changed that deals with, foreign offenders or whatever. But I don't even need to sign it. I just draft it up. But it's all the signatures of Atlanta on there, right? This is theory. But the thing is, I will be making a case. But I'm allowed to make a case and get a lawyer to represent me through the courts. I'm allowed to make a case through the civil actions and get representative. But, and really, if I don't sign it, I'm making a case to the local authority if I get the support of the people of that county to sign it, that's making a case to get the law changed. So that is political. So, and how would I travel around for that? Would I need to use the bus? So could I accept donations? How would I get the Atlanta people's signatures? I need to use the bus. Anyone can collect signatures and be a witness. The thing is, if you couldn't be a witness, then you won't be able to be a witness in a legal case. You won't be able to be a witness in a civil case, right? So, you clearly can accept donations for the political petition if you can collect signatures, or how are you going to travel around on the bus? Because, like, if you're, I'm going to help collect signatures, right, for, Stop Cop City, or even to get a law changed in Atlanta, but even if I don't sign it, if everyone who signs it from Atlanta, it says anyone can collect the signatures, So if they can't give me donations so I can get the bus to collect the signatures, then how am I going to do it? This is it, right? Now, what about in England? So I'm pretty sure that, if an American's in England, they could go around collecting signatures from British subjects. But then it's the American making the case to the government, isn't it? But with English signatures. But then could that American accept money, to travel around on the bus? And if they started the case, it's an American bringing a case. Now, if it's an American bringing a case, but everyone who signs it's British, can he bring it or not? Because he's not an English citizen, but he's bringing a case. But he can bring a case through the criminal court. He can bring a case through the civil court if he owns a McDonald's. Nothing stops him from owning a McDonald's. If only British people could own British businesses in England, then fair enough. But foreign people own businesses in England. So, I can't see why you can't accept donations for petitions, because they're saying that anyone can collect signatures, right? Now, when it comes to elections, okay, candidates for elections for registered political parties, it is slightly different. But let's not forget, right? Criminal case is a function of government, right? No matter whether you're English or not. And being engaged in that is to be brought into engagement of proceedings. Same with civil and like on copyrightclaimboard.gov. And also, if you're bringing a case to the government, which might be for not getting a law made or changed, but another function of government, like public inquiry, like if there was like a World Cup on and like America versus England in a World Cup and they all got crushed in a stadium, then you surely can, bring a case for a public inquiry if you're American and get English people to sign it, surely. In fact, you probably get a lot of Americans complaining on change.org to British government, or maybe even the White House Foreign Affairs Department, So, now, I understand and accept that for ministers, elected members of parliament, this whole, a registered political party in England, which is a permanent, it's a permanent, democratic organisation, right, of permanency. They have many candidates all over the country. They've got people in government. They have a party leader. They're accepting donations from the public, right? That is like they're operating in connection with Parliament, right, permanently, or while it's formed. Bringing a legal case as an individual is different, because you're wanting to get something put through government, but only one thing, for that one thing. And it's actually the political parties, the representatives who are going to represent us. You're just putting the case to them, like, handing the documents in, handing the investigation that you've done in your capacity, I mean, I don't really think that in America, surely, right, if you can be put through the courts in a criminal charge, or if someone can make an offence against you, like someone could punch you, then you'd want them to be charged. So if you can't gather evidence on them or make observations and be a witness, then you won't be able to even defend yourself. So sure, when you're in America, there are certain laws. I mean, in England, remember in the Criminal Law Act, it says like any person, if any person is pursuing another person who's broke the law. So that surely means that if an American person is in England and someone's committing a crime in England, a criminal offence, then they can pursue them and no one can intervene, because they're upholding the law. It says any person, and that's in the Criminal Law Act. It says any person. So, you can pursue criminals even if you're not a British citizen, according to that act, because you're upholding the laws of that country. So, now the thing is, the police are the police get paid by the country and don't pay taxes for policing, I don't think. Or we fund them. We fund the police anyway. We fund the police through our taxes. Now, the thing is, you can get a duty solicitor for free, because we have duty solicitors that are funded by the public. But I don't know what the tax is on getting legal help if you've been charged with an offence. But I know that, if you get charged with an offence in England and if you get found not guilty, you claim the money back, like your bus, like bus fares. You don't just claim back the tax. You claim the whole thing back, like all expenses, like, the travel that you had to pay to get there if you're found not guilty and you're defending yourself, because it's paid for by the state. and also by victim surcharges and things like that. But the courts are meant to be funded by the taxpayer, really, but also the criminals. Some of the fines and money from the criminals goes towards running of it all as well. But you definitely, if you're innocent, you don't have to pay it. You get the money back. So, looking at this, right, accepting donations to a political campaign, a political cause, or a petition that's running for one purpose, I do not. This act here, right? It's the Political Parties, Elections and Referendums Act 2000. Well, it doesn't. It's not. It's the Political Parties, Elections and Referendums Act 2000. But it's not petition. Like the other act, the Local Councils, Elections, Referendums, Petitions Act. Because you have to petition to get a referendum. Now, this Elections and Referendums Act 2000, there are some rules for national referendums, but also for elections, but it doesn't actually say for petitions. So I don't think that these donation rules apply to petitions, because the act is not for petitions, it's for referendums and elections. But other acts include petitions, because you got a petition for a referendum to get it. But to get the referendum, you see, the referendum, the funding for the referendum it comes from the state, and they're only allowed to use certain money towards it. It's saying, I'm sure that in America, right? In America, for petition for donations in America, right? Under IRS for political parties and activities, it says that if it's under £5,000, you don't even have to send the receipts into the government. If it's under £5,000 a year, then you don't have to send any receipts into the government at all whatsoever, because it's regarded as like, it's minor, it's small. And in England, even if you are running a company or a business, if like your business is so tiny, so small, like, I don't know, shifting paper clips or, just like, a lemonade stand or something like that, like very, very tiny or small, you don't even have to register as a company, and you don't even have to file tax if it's just like, having a car boot sale once a year or something like that, although that's even second-hand and could be even charitable. So, now these political parties are officially registered, and they're running long-term, and they're running for multiple matters. They have like a manifesto of multiple... they have a manifesto of multiple policies that they want to get put through the government, and all manner of things like that. And they have the people who are running in local elections and so forth, and that's what all their party funds is meant to be going towards, and the promotion of it all. But for a petition, there don't seem to be any rules written, what I can find, for when you're just running a one petition, like a petition for one thing, for like one like to get, a law, like, like that tampon tax petition, for example. I like that petition because it's pretty straightforward. It did very well. It got over 300,000 signatures in 8 months, which is longer than 6 months, what Parliament run them from the website. It was a lot of signatures, 300,000. And it was a very neutral petition. They weren't going to get any up. They were, men would be non-opposed to it, so they got no opposition. half the people in the country were women, and they like thought it was a laugh and a bit of fun, and also they'd all save money. So it had the wind blowing in its favour. Paula Sherriff, one of the MPs, was behind it, and Theresa May liked it. It was like a win-win petition because no one's opposed to it. You've got half the country who are going to benefit from it, even whether they vote or not for political parties. You don't even need to support Labour or Tory or Green Party or Conservative, because all women buy tampons, really, the majority of them, and they're going to save money, no matter what party they like. So that petition was indestructible. It was that petition was it was kind of like a genius strategic petition that couldn't fail, because more people more people now don't vote. People have stopped voting. I think that we've got like an all-time low for turnout. Less than half the country are voting at the moment, and in Northern Ireland, because there's no trust in politics. There's no belief in politics. So half the country aren't even turning out to vote, and then the ones that do vote don't even support all the parties, So they're getting in government on an extreme minority. So the fact that, all women buy tampons, regardless of their political affiliation, and they'd all save money if the tax got lowered. You don't even have to like politics to sign that petition. This is going to save you some money. It's going to save you like hundreds of pounds a year, or maybe £100 a year. So, it just was one of those strategies. But this is the thing. It's business, isn't it? It's more about business and commerce rather than politics, really. In fact, it was all about business. It was all about commercial sector. And this is why these political parties now are winning politics through their companies, through their fronts, through their McDonald's, their presence in the public as a business, not as a political party, and then using commercial advertising and so forth to influence the public. Now, the thing is, a lot of these businesses, the pictures on the packets are pushing political messages. A lot of the advent calendars that I've seen now, they're there's a lot of like cartoon dogs sat in cars that have no steering wheel, as if like, we'll just sit in the car and have a bit of a laugh. No one needs to steer it. No one needs to drive it. That's trying to get kids and the family on an advent calendar to really become politically affiliated with, scrapping driving, having no one drive, just be controlled by a satellite bus or a satellite driving car, all automatically controlled. And that's trying to get it through people's heads and through people's minds, so they'll have that belief. Now, they're using their companies and businesses to spread that political message, right? Now, you don't need to donate money to the Labour Party, so the Labour Party put out a flyer from the government saying, hey, let's introduce compulsory cars. Everyone has to trade the car in, scrap scheme, and we'll all go satellite nav controlled. But who's funding that campaign? Cadbury's Chocolate. Cadbury's Chocolate funding that campaign on the kids' packaging. Cadbury's Chocolate are pushing a political campaign costing hundreds of £1,000s, millions, to try and persuade families to ditch driving, Now, where's the donate? You don't need to send the money to Starmer. It's like football. Trotsky to Zelensky, Zelensky to Fowler, Fowler to Thompson, hits it in the net. Look at that. £10 billion donated to Labour. And now Sir Keir Starmer, Prime Minister, hands in the document and signed off by Prince Charles. Everyone will scrap their cars in now for satellite control. Well done, Cadbury's. And how much did that cost to brainwash us all? Oh, is it marked down on Keir Starmer's donations to the Labour Party policies? Oh, how many chocolates did you scoff? This is it. They're not. I go into a courtroom, right? That calendar is not advertising chocolates. It's advertising that people in England should not drive, that we shouldn't have people driving, that cars should be driven by themselves, by remote control. And that is the political message pushed. Zero money donated to Labour. Right? I'll prove it in a courtroom. I'll prove that all these companies are advertising Labour Party and Conservative policies on their chocolate bars. They don't need to send the money in. £5 million, the biggest donation to the Tories in years. But he helped them all along the way through the car scrappage scheme with his new advent calendar fucking promotion pictures. And I've got the picture on my phone, right? If a blind man can see it. So I'll see Keir Starmer in court through his entire workforce, his entire pals, Warburton's, bread, all his buddies. Do you want to send some money in to Keir, or would you like to do him another favour instead? Oh, don't worry, Keir. You can. I'll wait. I won't bother sending that $5 million in because we'll stick your policies on the front of my fucking advent calendars. I'll see Keir Starmer in court with every single fucking university professor in this country. Every single academic university fucking expert in advertising and psychology in this fucking country as a professional witness in front of Keir Starmer. How's he getting his policies through fucking government? Never mind fucking donations direct. Donations direct in the form of monies. Or I could donate a couple of advertisements to you, cleverly disguised as a fucking advent calendar. So, elections aren't free when people are donating to them, because if you're donating money to it, it's not free. You shouldn't really be able to donate money because then it's not free anymore. If all elections should be free, right, then it should be illegal to give monies over. If the law says all elections should be free of charge, which it says in the Bill of Rights, then that must be illegal to give money over to political parties, because, it's not free anymore, is it? How is it free? Or only the running of the election? Yeah, but, it's not free though, is it? Because they're asking you for money, they're trying to get money out of you, What should be the case is that, if you are a registered political party and are running candidates, they should not be charged for goods and services. Maybe like in court, if you're found not guilty, you get all the money back. Maybe, they can receive goods and services charitably, but not money. Because if they could receive goods and services charitably, but not money from their supporters or whatever, then, whatever. But, all this money that Trump uses, but then Biden got elected by using like 1/3 of the money that Trump used. Why did Trump need all that money? And where did all that money get him other than, taking money from the people when elections are meant to be free? It don't make sense. It's not a competition in who can make the most money, because that's what businesses do, compete to make the most money. It's meant to be, what policies can we offer this country that people want to vote for? And you can say that in 5 minutes on the BBC. Every fucking party political member can have 5 minute slot, Ed Davey, Keir Starmer, Rishi Sunak. But then he doesn't like it, because then he feels like he's some sort of communist or something. Oh, what's this? 5 minutes speak each. That means that I've got no flashy coaches, no flashy buses, no holding up, frozen fish or whatever. Boris Johnson, no jumping out of aeroplanes in Union Jack boxer shorts, no shearing sheep, no pulling pints. Oh, it'll be boring then. It'll be boring. It's who's got the most money, who's got the most flamboyant, flashy, campaign tactics. There is something, and then in America, they're trying to stop Robert F. Kennedy from going on certain programs. They're trying to stop him speaking in Congress and so forth. It is corrupted, and it's like they've turned into companies. So anyway, I can't see how, if petitioning the government, if it's the right of the subjects to petition the government and all prosecutions and commitments for petitioning are illegal, I can't see why you have to pay any money on any donations, or if you can't accept any donations from anyone. Because, like I said, if you're petitioning for an inquiry through the government authorise it and having an inquiry, but it is a special judicial function, and they can direct the police and they can refer matters to the courts, which is a civil/criminal court, the High Court. Then you can have that if you're foreign anyway. You can have civil cases and you can have criminal cases. So I can't see how they can stop people receiving donations from overseas. You definitely don't pay tax on it, that's for sure. You don't pay tax on political donations for political cases. That's for certain. I can't see how they can stop you accepting money from overseas, really. Particularly, or even if you can't be prosecuted for it anyway, that's for sure. But the way that they're treating Lawrence Fox at the moment, the police, it's kind of ridiculous. So I think this is actually only for a registered political party, because it's like a large operation and they've got people in government in permanent positions and they've got like official policies for changing the country. It's kind of different when you're just doing one petition for a certain case, because in a way it is very similar to like in business, when if you only have a small business, you don't actually have to pay tax, and if it's under a certain amount, you don't even have to file receipts. So because it's and I would suggest that with political parties, it's in a way, although it's not a business venture or engagement, it's you got a lot ticking over. It's not just like you're doing small things. In America, it's $5,000. In America, if it's under $5,000, you don't have to run the receipt through the political donations for parties. But we're not in America. So my point is, I don't see why I can't accept donations from overseas for a political campaign that is in pursuit of, a public inquiry, because it's higher judicial function, isn't it? It's like Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act. See, the Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act is, with the Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act, right? That's the thing. So, Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act, right? Gordon Brown. So, you're an American, right? You get prosecuted in England, for look at that. Anne Sekulas, who was using diplomatic immunity, but they ended up prosecuting her over video conference or whatever. But even if it's not that, even if it's just like, American guy, ends up getting in a fight or something like that. American guy on holiday in England gets prosecuted, has to go to prison in England, right? He appeals it to the High Courts and it fails, right? So he can appeal it to the House of Lords. Well, that's Parliament. So appeal by petition. All appeals to the House of Lords are by petition. So Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act. But it's been repealed. So you have to go to the Supreme Court. Well, what happens before they enacted the Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act? You didn't have to go to the Supreme Court. Before they enacted the Appeal Like Jurisdiction Act in the there's about 4 or 5 of them, like 1800s, right? You could still petition for appeal to the House of Lords, or petition over anything, over any legal case or anything you wanted to get changed in government or whatever, because you got the right to petition the government over anything. So it's like bric-a-brac. It's like bric-a-brac. It's the ministers have such a varied capacity of understanding that you end up with a shabby government, like a Leaning Tower of Pizza government that's not all got the bricks stacked properly underneath it. And then when, and they don't want to admit that it's magical, it's just floating, it should theoretically have fallen down a long time ago, but it's still magical floating there, held up by the will of the ministers, they're willing it to stay up, they're defiant, almost like, if they're defying gravity. But apparently that's the magical power of Parliament. It's almost like a building, it's like a castle in the sky, isn't it? It's like a castle in the clouds. And that's the problem. Some of them are in the clouds. And, they're in the clouds when they're getting more than £1 million or £5 million worth in donations from Pumpernickel, Tory 5 million donation guy. When he's like pushing their campaign for his product packaging all the time. And now through, the children, through, the kids and Mark Zuckerberg's AI, through the language of the internet. I've just got a text message from EE Mobile, right? Trying to, why don't you get some of our alarms fitted? They're now fitting alarms to houses and outside motion detectors and all these things. What's that noise outside? They're trying to make us scared of everything. They're pushing fear. Even EE are saying, you'll be snugged up and warm in the house if you've got our security systems and motion detectors. And also, this is what Robert F. Kennedy's saying, all these adverts popping up. You've spoken to your wife about, your toothache, and then you've got toothache ads popping up. And then you've got all, now they're trying to sell their security motion detectors outside and so forth. All these things. They're trying to make us live in complete fear and terror. Like all these wars that are kicking off abroad, I think they want it to be like that in this country so they can just sell more stuff and have people talking to each other less and less and less, because they don't really want people to politically come together and unite. They vehemently need us to be in fear. And I think that they're behind all the wars in the other countries, provoking them all the whole time, So you don't pay, that's one thing, you don't pay tax. So if you get a political donation for a political cause, you definitely don't pay tax on it, so you can't get done by the tax man. Now, whether or not you can accept it or not from overseas, I can't see why not. I just can't see why not. Because all prosecutions are illegal, so even if you can't get prosecuted for it, that's for one thing. I think Chris Carr in America, in Atlanta, was trying to make out that... It was trying to pass off that people, all these racketeering charges, and so forth. But you can't really get done for political campaigns for that, because if it was anything similar to what racketeering is, then it would be more like treason or subverting the liberties of the realm. Even in America, breaking federal law. There are higher offences